thunderstorm passes. You see the bright reds, it is dumping a lot of rain, and that rain's going to eventually be making its way towards the city of San Angelo. So multiple different warnings in effect right now. No warnings north of Coleman. Just some nice rain ongoing. Snyder, Colorado City, Fisher County towards Abilene, towards Callahan County. Nothing severe at this point. The furthest north severe thunderstorm warning is for Coke County. And the ongoing tornado warning for the next 10 minutes. It's currently 9:55 on this Thursday evening. So Fox West Texas Live at 9 about to end. For those of you who may just now be joining us, we are doing live severe weather coverage for a tornado warning in central and western, northwestern portions of Coleman County. Valera really wants you to be in that tornado safe place for at least the next 20 minutes. It's currently 9:55. Most recent radar scans, it's not looking to show as concentrated strong winds as we were seeing just a little while ago. Earlier, we were seeing the bright pinks on radar. That's indicative of really strong winds. Now it's more of a bright red, and you notice that color scale on the top of your screen. The bright pinks are kind of some of the stronger winds radar can see. And once you get into that brighter reds, it's still definitely concerning. It's still severe, and it could definitely tighten up in intensity. But earlier we were sampling those winds close to 70. Now it's a little closer to 50 miles an hour. So hopefully giving folks in western Coleman County near Valera a little bit of some peace of mind. It's definitely still cause for concern, especially if you live southwest of the city of Coleman. Again, here's Highway 67. Here is Highway 84. Kind of west of that intersection, here's the community of Santa Ana. Santa Ana, you're currently not under a tornado warning. You do have a severe thunderstorm warning in Santa Ana, and you're honestly not even seeing rain at this point in Santa Ana. You see a little bit of rain towards the city of Coleman. You're eventually going to be seeing the rain, and you are included in that severe thunderstorm warning. I believe that is also until 10:30 p.m. this evening. So Coleman County, kind of more of Coleman County included in a severe thunderstorm warning until 10:30 p.m. So you have to remember when you have tornado warnings, tornadoes are small and counties are large, so it's only a small portion of the county actively seeing that tornado threat. Winds inside the thunderstorm, definitely still strong at this point. You definitely still have the bright reds close to the bright green, so you're seeing some broad rotation. Per the radar at Dyess Air Force Base, you see that line coming from the north. That's the radar scanning through the atmosphere. Green, those are winds moving towards the radar. Red is winds moving away from the radar. So at this point you have broad and counterclockwise rotation, and that is where you could potentially have a tornado. So Valera, I do still want you in that tornado safe place, hopefully providing you a little bit of peace of mind knowing it's not as strong as it looked maybe 10 or 15 minutes ago. It is strong nonetheless. Southwest of you in Coleman, here's Highway 206, and we'll see if the National Weather Service extends the tornado warning. We still have about 15 minutes left of this tornado warning in central portions of Coleman County. But you see this area where it's kind of pushing ahead of the rest of the line. That could potentially be where you have some very strong winds entering now into Valera. And you see that as well in our wind data, stretching from just to the east of Talpa, just kind of to the northeast of Talpa, just to the north of Highway 67, some strong outbound winds, those are what we call winds going away from the radar, with that kind of darker red color. So a powerful thunderstorm ongoing across Coleman County. Whenever you have a line of thunderstorms, that often reduces the risk of a tornado, so I'm not as concerned for western portions of the Concho Valley and the Big Country. Not to say it's impossible. We're definitely keeping a very close eye on it, but the biggest concern is with these discrete, isolated thunderstorms out ahead of the main line, and the National Weather Service earlier saw that evidence of rotation in Taylor and Runnels County. That storm is slowly but surely moving kind of to the east-southeast and eventually going to be moving towards southern portions of Coleman County. And we'll have to see how long it takes that main line of storms to catch up with this individual storm. This storm's moving slow. That line out to the west is moving pretty quick. So hopefully the storm will catch up sooner rather than later, assuming the storm holds together for a little while longer. But Doyle, east of Paint Rock in Concho County, southeast of Ballinger and Runnels County. Want to emphasize, you're hearing some loud thunder and winters right now with that little storm. Again, nothing severe to the north of this tornado warning in Coleman County, nothing north of Coke County, nothing north of Coleman County that's severe. You're definitely hearing the rain though. Earlier on our Abilene Sky Tracker, we really saw the rain coming down. Nothing severe for you in Abilene. You're just hearing the heavy rain, hearing the thunder down towards Tuscola, west towards Nolan County on I-20. Rain's really coming down. I know folks may be living towards Snyder, towards Colorado City. And you'll notice that activity is south of Aspermont and south of Haskell. That's because a cold front's pushing from north to south. So if you live north of I-20, there's really not much of a severe weather concern because as that cold front pushes through the area, that's really going to serve to eliminate that severe weather threat. And we've just received notification that we are on all of our different streaming platforms. So if you're watching us from Valera, if you're watching us from western portions of Coleman County, and you haven't got to your tornado safe place, you can go ahead and go in there and you can watch us live on the Fox West Texas mobile app, Facebook, YouTube, all of our different streaming and digital platforms. You can also watch us on Fox West Texas Plus. Maybe you don't have cable or traditional TV. We're also on streaming platforms to help reach not just the traditional TV audience, but also the digital and streaming audience. It is just after 10 p.m. We are continuing with severe weather coverage for a tornado warning in western portions of Coleman County. Tristan, Desmond, are we receiving any sort of reports? Okay, at this point, we have not received any reports. Thank you for that, Desmond. Still, the powerful winds, especially on the northeast side of Talpa towards Valera. I want to zoom in on this tornado warning. Okay, we have received reports of power lines down in Sterling County from the newsroom. You see that line of showers and thunderstorms I mentioned just a second ago. They don't really carry much of a tornado risk. It's definitely there. It's just not quite zero. And we've received reports of down power lines in Sterling County. So the National Weather Service gonna go out and survey, see if it was a tornado that caused it or straight line winds. It could have been either or. It doesn't necessarily mean a tornado happens if you have those downed power lines. But just know powerful winds eventually as it moves towards the city of San Angelo. And we have just received a severe thunderstorm warning. City of San Angelo is included. Threats of hail an inch in diameter and 70-mile-an-hour winds as it moves off to the southeast. I want to give some timing for folks with this thunderstorm as it eventually is going to move towards the city of San Angelo. National Weather Service, again, warning for up to 70-mile-an-hour winds. So it hasn't quite arrived in San Angelo. If you have things that are outside in San Angelo, I would recommend bringing those inside, things that maybe could be blown around like pots or other outdoor items, because 70-mile-an-hour winds can definitely do some damage. But the National Weather Service has this moving southeast at 30 miles an hour. So I'm going to put a storm tracker on this storm. We'll go from Erie County up towards Coke County and track it towards Concho County. Should arrive at San Angelo at 10:33 p.m. So in the next half hour. So you do have a little bit of time to go seek some shelter in San Angelo. Go move around anything you might need to move around. Near Grape Creek at 10:15, so in about 10 minutes or so, it'll arrive for you in Grape Creek near Miles at 10:40, so we're talking far southwestern Runnels County. Near Cristoval, right before 11 p.m., 10:56, and 11:09 for you in Paint Rock. Keep in mind, these are just estimates by radar, so just know that's kind of the general time frame. It is moving relatively slowly at 30 miles an hour. Compare that to the tornado warning in Coleman, but that is National Weather Service has warned for up to 70 miles an hour wind gusts, and you can really see that green shaded area on radar. Those are your powerful winds, potentially up to 70 miles an hour. Green is winds going towards the radar, so those are winds going to the east, southeast towards San Angelo Mathis Airport. Sampling some of those winds inside the thunderstorm from the San Angelo radar site. We've had those confirmation of damage in Sterling County. Radar may be underestimating a little bit, about 40 to 50 miles an hour. That warning, though, from the Weather Service is warning for up to 70 mile an hour wind gusts. And it could potentially strengthen a little bit as it approaches San Angelo. So again, if you live in Coke, Erie, Sterling, or Tom Green County, just want you to wait out until this line of thunderstorms passes you. Want to emphasize, once the line passes, we are done with severe weather threats. For the night, we might see a little bit of storm redevelopment, but I think the severe threat really should be over once that line passes through. Tornado warning still in effect for Coleman County for the next 9 minutes. It's currently 10:06 p.m. Valera still wants you to be in that tornado safe place for the next little while until 10:15 p.m. You still see that kind of reverse C shape just kind of to the east of Valera. Winds inside the thunderstorm, at this point looking fairly disorganized. So again, we'll continue to watch it, continue to keep an eye on it for the next 10 minutes or so. I'm going to pan the radar back to the west. Still have those powerful winds northeast of Talpa, northwest of Valera, kind of towards the north of Highway 67. We'll have to see if any damage reports come through the National Weather Service. And they have partially canceled the severe thunderstorm watch. Let me show you that as well, since we have folks tuning in from a lot of the area. So Jones County, Fisher County, and Fisher, Jones, and Shackelford County have all been removed from the severe thunderstorm watch. That's because that cold front is moving in from the north. Taylor County, you're still included. San Angelo, you are still included. And I believe the severe thunderstorm watch goes into effect until 11 p.m. Notice some more counties have been added in our viewing area. Kimball, Sutton counties, and areas north of San Angelo you originally weren't included. You are now included in that severe thunderstorm watch until 11 p.m. So if you live north of I-20, the severe threat for you is done for tonight. South of I-20, we still have that severe thunderstorm watch in effect for the next hour. And given the way things are shaping up, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a bit of an extension. As I mentioned earlier in our 9 p.m. newscast, I think potentially the latest storms could be leaving our area maybe about a little after midnight, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. I think is a worst case scenario. For now, our immediate attention's on this tornado warning for western portions of Coleman County. Here's Novice, here's Highway 84, here's Highway 67, kind of in the western, central, up to northwestern portions of Coleman County. Seeing lots of heavy rain at this point. We had this thunderstorm that initially formed towards Abilene, and it looks like the main line of storms is starting to catch up with this alone discrete thunderstorm. And once these storms kind of merge, I think that will greatly diminish the tornado threat. That hasn't quite happened yet. So west of Coleman, really still need you to be in that tornado safe place. What that means for you, lowest floor away from windows. You can tune in with Fox West Texas on all of our different digital and streaming platforms. We'll continue to keep you up to date. Nothing severe though for Callahan County, for Eastland County, for Cross Plains. Eventually this main line of storms that we're tracking a little closer towards San Angelo, that'll eventually move east towards the Dallas area, and that might affect you in Eastland County and Eastland and Stevens County. You see that flashing yellow box, that's the old severe thunderstorm warning that's about to expire. Sorry, I thought I was about to sneeze. Thankfully, did not need to sneeze. That's why I was doing that. Didn't want to blow everyone's ears out. But we do still have a tornado warning in effect for western portions of Coleman County until 10:15 this evening. So I want you to continue to be in that tornado safe place. Receiving lots of notifications for that severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Tom Green County. If you're watching us from the city of San Angelo, if you're watching us from Tom Green County, no, there is no imminent tornado threat. We have a line of storms that is moving from northwest to southeast into the city of San Angelo. It's expected to arrive near San Angelo at about 10:30 this evening. Here's Loop 306, and you notice that area that's kind of bowing outward towards San Angelo. That is where you likely have some of the strongest winds, and some of those winds could potentially be up to 70 miles an hour for you in Grape Creek. And Grape Creek's a fairly well-populated area, as you know, residents of Tom Green County. So hopefully no damage occurs there. If you do live San Angelo, Harriet, towards Wall, south towards Cristoval. And unfortunately, Cristoval received damage earlier this week when we had baseball-sized hail move through Tom Green County. Hopefully no more damage. Hopefully the storm remains tame as it approaches Tom Green County. Main focus is for Coleman County, and if this seems repetitive, we're repeating the information because a lot of people will maybe tune in a little bit later. They might miss bits of information. A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for central portions of Coleman County. Also just had a flash flood warning issued for portions of Coleman County. That's because this storm has dumped a lot of rain. We in West Texas know it doesn't take a whole lot of rain to lead to those flash flooding concerns. So if you live in portions of Coleman County, or honestly just anywhere in West Texas, remember you want to turn around, don't drown, to help keep yourself safe from families. And even after the tornado threat passes, and even after the storm passes, that can definitely still be a concern. We know in San Angelo, after a storm passes, it usually takes at least a few days before the flooding starts to recede, before those high water areas start to recede across the region. So again, not saying this to frighten anyone, but I am giving you a heads up about that potential threat. Again, the warning's still in effect west of Coleman. At this point, I think it's mostly a straight line wind threat, but there's definitely still is that tornado threat. That's why the warning's in effect. And even if there is no tornado in Coleman County, which hopefully there isn't, I definitely see evidence of straight line damaging winds near Talpa, near Valera. And it's kind of on the leading edge of that storm in Coleman County where I'm most concerned about that damaging wind threat. That's why the National Weather Service extended that severe thunderstorm warning that goes right up to the border with Brown County. Here's Brownwood, here's May, here's Owens, here's Grosvenor, here's Thrifty, here's Banks. The storm is west of you at this point. You are still included in that watch until 11, and you have those warnings just to the west of you. So I definitely want you paying attention to that forecast in Brown County. I'm continuing to monitor the storm and also continuing to monitor the big area of storms as that cold front sags south. That's really been the big weather story for the Concho Valley and the big country. It's fired up storms. That's what's causing the severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for Tom Green County. And really there are two big areas of concern across our area. We have this area going from Erie County, Sterling County, Coke County, moving towards Concho County. That is kind of the southern flank of the line of storms. That certainly has severe potential. We've had reports of power lines down in Sterling County, so very strong winds. And then this storm out ahead of the main line that produced funnel clouds earlier in Taylor County. Now it's moving through Coleman County. in effect for the next minute or so. At this point, no indication from the National Weather Service that they are going to continue that tornado warning. We'll stick with it. We'll see maybe if they end up extending the warning. As I've mentioned before, these types of thunderstorms, they have a tendency to cycle up and cycle back down in intensity. So it may be cycling down at this point, not to say it can't just cycle right back up again. So Coleman County, especially western portions of Coleman County, you who are in, and the tornado warning has been allowed to expire for Coleman County. You do still have several severe thunderstorm warnings and a flash flood warning in effect. So Desmond, I think we'll be able to send it back to regularly scheduled programming. I do just want to give people a quick overview with what's going on, and we'll continue to keep you up to date online and on social media. Severe thunderstorm warning that is approaching the city of San Angelo, that is approaching Grape Creek right now, is capable of those 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and you're in the severe thunderstorm warning until 11 p.m. And that's where those bright green colors are. So Grape Creek, San Angelo, no tornado threat, a very gusty straight line wind threat though until 7 p.m. So just want you to stay inside until the storm passes you in San Angelo. And the previously tornado warned storm, that's been allowed to be canceled. Still want you just staying inside probably until the main line of storms just to your west passes you. So quick overview. We have two main areas of concern, one near San Angelo, one closer towards Coleman. Severe thunderstorm watch is in effect until 11 p.m. It's currently just after 10:15. Wouldn't be shocked if we ended up seeing an extension past midnight. Of course, we'll continue to keep an eye on things. Hope you all stay safe the rest of your evening, and thank you for tuning in. For now, back to regularly scheduled programming. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for sticking with us. Just briefly stepped off camera to go take care of some things, but no tornado warnings in effect for our area. I want to emphasize that right off the bat. I do just want to give you a quick update with what's going on. Severe thunderstorm warning includes the city of San Angelo, includes Coke County, Erie County, and Sterling County, a good portion of Tom Green County until 11 p.m. It is currently just after 10:20 p.m. So for the next 40 minutes, severe thunderstorm warning that includes the city of San Angelo. North side of San Angelo, you are about to get the rain. Zooming in on San Angelo, you see Grape Creek, you are just now getting the very heavy rainfall. Leading edge of that line of storms, that's where you have the strongest winds and the biggest impacts. Behind the leading edge, you see the heavy rain, eventually some light rain, and then once the cold front, the main line of storms passes through, we're going to be done with the threat of strong to severe thunderstorms, but orient down towards the city of San Angelo. I'd recommend just staying inside until this storm passes your location. It looks like rain now getting towards Arden Road, getting towards the San Angelo State Park, towards West Houston Hart Expressway, so that's the kind of western side of the loop in the city of San Angelo. Near Houston Hart, Frontage Road, those are all the locations. Near Sterling City Highway, zooming out on radar, you see that kind of leading edge of the line of storms that's almost pushing forward ahead of the main line. That's indicative of some gusty straight line winds. Feel free to pass along any of those reports. They really help us as meteorologists looking at the winds inside the thunderstorm. Still definitely some bright greens towards Grape Creek, getting towards the north side of San Angelo, and those are potentially some severe winds. The radar at San Angelo Mathis Field is recording some of those wind gusts, potentially up to 40, 50 miles an hour. It looks like we have just gotten a new update from the National Weather Service, and they have downgraded from saying 70 mile an hour wind gusts to 60 mile an hour wind gusts. So about 10 miles an hour slower. I would still recommend just staying inside. Thankfully, maybe not looking as powerful as it did as we saw it move through Sterling County. I know probably a lot of folks are nervous as this storm moves through the city of San Angelo. Nothing to be nervous about. I would just recommend waiting this storm out until it passes at 11 p.m. It does look like the strongest part of this line of storms is passing through the city of San Angelo. It's passing through places like Cristoval, Arden. Here's Mertzen, Grape Creek, up towards Miles. Southern portions of Coke County, it doesn't include you in Robert Lee, towards Vancourt. Here's Highway 87. Here's Paint Rock, or excuse me, here's Eden. I'm sorry, folks, it's late at night. Eden with an E. Here's Paint Rock. Here's Highway 83. This storm eventually will make its way eventually it's going to make its way towards Concho County. Also, we just finished up doing tornado warning coverage for an isolated storm out ahead of the main line. Notice it looks like it's now caught up to the main line, so that should really lower the tornado threat. That is certainly some good news. As we've seen, though, this storm is definitely capable of producing some very gusty winds. There is still a severe thunderstorm watch. That means conditions are favorable for severe thunderstorms. San Angelo towards Abilene, Sterling County towards San Saba, Kimball County towards Crockett County. You all are included in the severe thunderstorm watch. Scurry County, Mitchell County, you are no longer included. So if you're north of I-20 from Mitchell County northward towards Knox County, not concerned about the severe weather threat for you. You'll be able to go to bed quietly. There are no weather problems anticipated for you. It does look like the heaviest rainfall is now getting towards the north side of the city of San Angelo. Street tracking, here is East Farm to Market Road 2105. Here's Homestead Circle. Here's North Bank Drive, and here is Highway 306. So that's the loop that goes around the city of San Angelo. So it looks like the rain is now approaching the north side of the city of San Angelo, and it's kind of along that leading edge where you might expect the heaviest rainfall. Also notice this little green line out ahead of the main line. That's called a gust front when you have these line of storms moving through the area. It sends out wind gusts out ahead of it. That's kind of the rain-cooled air. So you're probably feeling the nicer air if you live in Wall, and probably some very gusty winds with that as well. If we go into wind mode of radar and we zoom in, they have also issued a flash flood warning for northwestern Coleman County, just receiving word of that, and you can see it here. That green polygon that goes from northwestern Coleman County into eastern portions of Runnels County, that's because a lot of rain has fallen. So remember, you want to turn around, don't drown. But if we look at the winds inside the thunderstorm, you notice that subtle line. Those are wind gusts out ahead of the main line of storm. So it's not raining for you quite yet in Wall, but some of those wind gusts may be up to 10, 15, 20 miles an hour. So certainly not the main threat. The main threat is back towards San Angelo. It is eventually moving towards Wall. Until 11 p.m. So here's what I'll plan on doing. The rain is moving towards the city of San Angelo. Big story with this storm, there's not a tornado threat expected. There is a threat potentially of heavy rainfall and some 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. See that Boeing shape getting now into the city of San Angelo. That's the winds in the thunderstorms kind of pushing the thunderstorms forward. And I'm going to put a track on this thunderstorm, give folks an idea of where all it's headed. National Weather Service has this warned for moving southeast at 30 miles an hour. So I'm going to put a track on this thunderstorm, and then I think we'll go ahead and end things on the with this live stream briefly, and then of course keep you up to date online on social media on all our different platforms. But San Angelo, it's right on top of you. Within the next minute or so, by about 10:29, should arrive in San Angelo. Knickerbocker, it'll arrive for you in about 15 minutes at 10:44 p.m. Near Marietta, right on the border of Concho County and Tom Green County at 10:51 p.m. So a little bit before the warning expires near Paint Rock. in northern Concho County by about 11:06 and near Vic at 11:12. So that's what we have going on with radar. We have kind of two concerning clusters of storms, one near Coleman County that previously was tornado warned, no longer in effect, and a severe thunderstorm warning that includes the city of San Angelo. They have extended the severe thunderstorm watch in terms of time. That severe thunderstorm watch now goes until 1 o'clock in the morning Friday. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to reset at the station and continue to keep you up to date online and on social media. But for now, I think we'll go ahead and end this stream. Stay safe and thank you for your trust.